Hey everyone, Penny Psalm with Brave and Unbroken here with M and the amazing Little Bloom book. I'm so excited about this. I know you had your little launch. I shouldn't say little, your big launch. This is
It
amazing.
was it was little. Listen, I'm very happy to use the word little, to start little, to be humble, to have community roots. Like, please use the word little. It's fine.
I love it. Yeah,
It's a
fantastic.
little book, so it's a little launch.
I love it. Well, I met gosh, it was before COVID, wasn't it? Like right before COVID. And we did her ama or the your
I use
amazing
all
all the
pronouns,
pronouns. Thank you.
every single
Um,
one.
Awesome. Amazing project of Faces of Fortitude and got to spend that intimate time with you, which was phenomenal. Still something that I hold very dearly today. And kind of bloomed this like small little friendship, big little friendship at times. It's kind of ebbed and flowed through the seasons of our lives. And here we are with this amazing book that you've done. And so could you just share like who you are and about the book? And let's just dive in.
Yeah. We first met, I want to say it was like 2018, if
Yeah,
I
I
had to
think so.
guess.
I think so.
And I was working at a company called Creative Live. And, I think, Penny, you met me at a time where I was coming out of this space in my life where I was, anybody who's a mom or a parent understands giving your life to your children for X amount of years. And my daughter had just finally was becoming an adult by that time. And so I had my first job that was me centered, that wasn't corporate, that wasn't behind a desk, that was creative based. And within this job, I was inspired to start the Faces of Fortitude project. I got the opportunity because there was space there that I could film and shoot and use their gear. And there was an inspiration through a woman who had her own project. So Faces of Fortitude was born through the loss of my brother. And I wasn't a photographer. I didn't do any of that. It was a 10-year-old camera in my closet. And um, when I saw that the need was and people came, I took a few YouTube classes and taught myself how to shoot on my camera, taught myself social media, how to edit, because I wanted to make these stories the best they could be and cherish them. Um, and then, things just started to roll. And so I call myself a storyteller because this project, now 8 years in, is still up and kicking. But I've reeled it way in since those days. I think in those days I was just, I think any of us that have lost anyone to suicide or any have any kind of grief, or even with your project, like anybody that's ever experienced anything traumatic, your first gut reaction is to make sure nobody feels that again. Everybody wants to put some effort into that space. What can I do to help people so they don't hurt like I did? So the first few years of that project, I was putting out faces portraits. Like I would do 3 or 4 in a day. And
Yeah.
I was not doing any due diligence for the things that came up for me. I was just like, oh, these feelings aren't as, they're not as important as these people need space so badly. And it didn't really catch up to me until quarantine. And then quarantine happened and all the plates fell. And I was sitting in a space of, I had done 2 TEDx talks. I had, I was public speaking. I was doing these faces. It was getting recognition because I photographed Robin Williams' son, Zach Williams. And so there were people looking at it. And I just couldn't take time for those feelings that were piling up in the back. And then quarantine was like, well, you're gonna take those
Yeah.
time, and everything, all those plates that I was spinning st fell, and I was forced, and I was had a divorce for the first time in my life, so I was living alone for the first time in 24 years, and no community, nothing, because we were shut in, thinking it was only going to last a few weeks, and it lasted a few years, and it's still happening.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how the Little Bloom book was born. And so I still do my Faces of Fortitude portraits. Very different now. I maybe do 2 or 3 a month. And in a day, it's one. because I give myself space before and after now. I've learned a lot about myself around my portraits. And the Little Bloom book is just a book about what happened in that space, like how quarantine shook me to my core and really forced me to look at everything that fell and how I wasn't taking care of myself. And it's a little magical story about how a little prince slash princess in this apartment loft with all my plants kind of got saved by my plants and in a way. Or not in a way, absolutely. They reminded me, which is really kind of what the Little Bloom book is about. Just we're kind of a complicated plants.
I love that. And what are your hopes for other people with this Little Bloom book?
The first line of the book is I'm not a professional gardener, nor am I a professional therapist. I am not trying to be anything I'm not, and I'm not trying to be a psychiatrist or a therapist. I'm not trying to have the answers for anybody, but I am trying to plant a seed with people in hopes that they can take their mental health into small bites in a way that brings them back to themselves. And hopefully, this book can help people reframe how they take care of themselves and their bodies. I think that we're kind of brainwashed and taught that we are not capable. And we're taught that we need all of these things, which over the years we've taken, whether you've taken behaviors or lifestyle changes or um, what is it called when you've got vices, whatever you've taken over the years to kind of add to your armor so that you can survive what's happening out in the world. We all have it, but it's learning to take it off and find your center again and find yourself that I need what I needed to do. And I'm ADHD and I'm incredibly I've got like 12 projects that I've started that I haven't finished like 6 books. I'm just that person. And so having something that is tangible, that is small, that is simple, but that is also like unlock something that you're like, oh, that's easy. I need easy. And so I'm hoping people will see this book as something that I've had a lot of people say, oh, this is so simple. I can't believe I didn't think of this. And I'm like, I think we pass over it. We're taught to make things so complicated sometimes.
Right.
When we were just talking before we started recording about being overseas, and something that my family in Italy always tells me when I visit is, you Americans make things so complicated. Everything's so complicated. Why do you have to overcomplicate it? And I'm hoping that people can look at their plants, or if they don't have plants, find something in their life that's alive, that's not necessarily a human. You know what I mean? There's life all around us, learning from life beings that just exist, that are just meant to be, which I think in many ways we are. We've complicated a lot of things. You can learn a lot. Yeah, so I'm hoping people can just take a reframe for their life, for lack of a better term, I guess.
I love that. It's really something to think about, really, right? Like as I'm looking out the window, I'm just thinking, processing what you just said. It's really fabulous.
Well, like look at I think I've seen this before everywhere, but if you just take the back of any leaf, just look at a leaf, the intricacies on a leaf are almost exactly like the palms of our hands. Almost exactly. Like look at them. We are built with such magic in so many ways. And plants all around us, whether they're inside or outside, teach us about rebirth, loss, regeneration, about the stages of our life, like over and over. They're just being, they're not trying to one up each other. They're not trying to get up on the corporate ladder. They're
Right,
not trying
right.
to do any of that. They're just like, well, it's time for this leaf to die. And they're showing us how to, ex- you know, experience loss and how to have tells when we need something, whether it's a change of light, whether it's nutrients, water. Like I try really hard. The book has 7 steps that I created that are things that I do with my plants every day. And as when I do them, because every day is different, like sometimes I'll just do step 3 on my plants, or sometimes I do a lot of them. And when I do those steps, I mirror it with myself. So I'm like, okay, it's time to water the plants. And I will set out huge things of water for myself. And, the goal is to drink this water as I fill all of these plants. Or, if I'm debugging them or taking off dead leaves, what can I get rid of? Do I need to take my garbages out? Do I need to tidy? Do I need to take care of myself? Like just being able to give ourselves the kindness and softness and grace that we give these plants that sometimes we buy at the grocery store for, under $20, which is the attention. And that's kind of how the book was born, was out of a moment of like exasperation that I was giving a plant. And it was this moment where I thought she was dead. And I had really taken care of her and given her all of this. She had gotten spider mites, and I gave her like oils. She had a schedule. I was, but I hadn't showered in 3 days. I was not taking care of myself. And then she came back to life, and I made a painting of her, and there was just this little baby furl. And when I tell you I held that plant up like Simba from The Lion King, like I was so happy. I was like, you're alive. And then I had to step back because I was like, you have not taken care of yourself this way in the last 3 weeks, the way that you've taken care of this plant. Like this plant had a schedule. You didn't even shower. Like, what is happening? And so backing up and being like, whoa, like not only was I kind and soft and curious with this plant, but I was patient and left her alone and like really let her be in her space. And um, I wasn't affording any of that to myself. I was being very mean to myself, which most of us are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I would say today's time, even more so, all of the time, even the 8 years that, 5 years, 7 years that we've known each other, we've had these ebb and flows of community, these ebb and flows of federal whatever. I think this individualism, this like capitalism, all of these things that you're right, it complicates everything that who we are, what we do, what, how we cloud our vision. And I love like going back to the basics is exactly what you're talking about is phenomenal.
I keep trying to remind people we made all this up.
Yeah.
We made all this up. These words I'm talking, we made these up. We made these up to better communicate with each other, to have a better life. We made up standards. We made up gender. We
Right.
made up the family household, the nuclear family. We
Right.
made up, I mean, this is going to be controversial, but religion. Like, we made up things to better suit our lives. So when people like try to fight with me about verbiage and words, or you said this and I said this, I just try to remember people, we made this up. We made it all up. Like, let's go back to where we are, how we feel, like what in our bodies can we listen to that we believe more than what somebody is telling us we need to act, or how we need to be, or where we need to, like, at the end of the day, it was my partner and I went on a little like anniversary vacation last year to the desert, and I had never been to the desert. And we went to Joshua Tree. And so when we went, I was very like, there was like nobody, there was like 5 acres. And so it was the desert, it was hot. So I like got totally naked and took all my clothes off, which I am not that person. I've always been taught that because I had a non, um, conventionally, perfect body, whatever, that I was supposed to hide it so other people didn't have to experience it. And let me tell you something. When you get other people's voices and eyes away from you, and you have no sound except for the silence of the desert, you love yourself a lot more.
I love that.
I stood there and I was just like, oh my God, I actually love my body. It's other people that are putting this shit on me. And so there's so much of us that there's so much in our daily life that we do, so many decisions that we make about ourselves that are based on made up things. They're based on things people make up, we make up, other people like, and I'm done doing that. And I think that it's a hard thing to unlearn, and I do it every day. But I think that I've been trying to remind people with this book that, like, this is all for our benefit. And if
Absolutely.
you're not using it for your benefit, it's made up and you can do something else.
Yeah.
And the plants don't care about politics. The animals don't care about politics. Your cat doesn't know about Trump and doesn't care about the executive orders. Like they're just living and finding joy in the simple things that they find joy in.
Yeah.
And while yes, it's scary and yes, it's horrible and yes, we all need to have a voice and we all need to be part of change and a revolution and resist and stand up, which I'm doing. We also need to have a part where we know we have to just be because this is what we're here for, to be, to have joy, to find purpose.
I love that. And I think
Period.
resistance can be rest. Resistance
It
can be
is.
hiding out with your friends, hiding out with yourself, like, or what we would call hiding out, right? We don't have to be resisting in the front lines with signs. Like, there's so many ways to resist. This
Well,
book,
and there are also different generations that
yeah,
can do that. Like, let the younger kids be the resistance. I spent too many years in Payless shoes. My
right.
knees can't be part of the resistance all the time.
I love
Like,
that. So
I
true.
went to raves in $12 shoes. I can't
Yeah,
stand too long in a resistance line, but I will. You know what I mean? But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
totally.
every generation has their own thing. And so I think I'm sorry if it gets loud. There's a
No,
garbage truck next door.
no, no.
Um,
Good.
but I do think that yeah, it's amazing how if you can reframe capitalism, our our part in the workforce or what this kind of cogs in this wheel, we're trying to resist, but we also have to play a part to survive right now.
Totally.
And it's such a fine balance and line to walk, but also, like you said, rest is resistance. So for me, like my partner's in a younger generation than me. So I was taught by boomers to like you are only as good as the best thing that you've ever done, and you can always do better, and there's always somebody that has it harder than you, and like we can pull ourselves up by we didn't have ADHD, like all these things.
Right.
And so there's all like in my head there's always something going, you can do better, you can be doing better. Like I had to resist that at the book event too, like, well, you could have done this and this. But
Mm.
I've got this younger partner that when we met, they were looking at like my day job, my maintenance day job, and they were like, you work way harder than your wage. And I was like, and they said, you should work your wage and then that's it. And then you're done. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like learning to work our wage and just do what you have to do to survive. And then the rest of it, take yourself away, have joy, find slowness, find rest. Those emails can wait. I think in Japan, I heard that their emails and texts, there's not an urgency like we have here. You
No.
could wait 3 weeks to hear back from somebody.
Yeah.
And we've created this need to be urgent for other people that are frankly getting richer than us and disparaging the wage gap even more. So why are we rushing for other people?
Yeah, most of
So
these organizations that I visited, their number one mission, vision, like statement is to assure their employees are happy and developed.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine if that was here? Yeah, exactly. And it's not. So whose job is that? Ours.
Yeah, it's ours.
My number one job in life is to make sure that I am healthy and joyful and imagine like I'm doing what I want. Like, and I had somebody ask me the other day, do you remember when they used to ask us what's our like ultimate career goals?
Oh gosh, yeah.
What do you want to do in life? These new generations aren't answering that the same.
Right.
They're saying, I don't want a big career. That's not my life goal is to be this big CEO who owns a company and never has a break. I
Right.
grew up with a restaurant family and my all my uncles and grandpa and grandma were, the goal was to give somebody a restaurant, to have a restaurant. And I watched these people work 7 days a week, no breaks. And I'm like, I was the first person that was like, I don't want a restaurant. I don't want to do it. I saw what it did to my family. That's
Yeah.
a no.
Yeah.
And so, at what point can we start living and having our pace like plants in this book? Like that's kind of why I'm doing this is I'm trying to show people that like we're symbiotic. There are other animals. Did you know that turtles and butterflies are symbiotic?
No, I didn't.
So turtles have these tears that make their faces, that make their eyes cloud and they can't see. And the butterflies need the nutrients that are in the turtles' tears. And so you will find butterflies flying on turtles' faces because they eat their tears and they drink their tears so that the turtles can see. And so they're
Oh,
symbiotic with each other. So, like, there are these little magical things in our universe that there are symbiotic animals for a reason. So we're symbiotic with plants for a reason. They need what comes out of our mouths. So people are like, "You're so dumb. You talk to your plants." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. They need what comes out of our mouths. So why not? And they're alive. So why are we not talking to them?
yeah.
And then they're putting out what we need to survive. There's a relationship there for a reason.
Yeah.
And we have turned to consume and consumption of plants and trees and things that were made to keep us alive. Because yeah, there's a whole book there, I think, about human consumption and what we've done.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you're absolutely right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I digress.
No, it all relates. It's so good. So, who is M now? The mother, the human,
Yeah.
like centered person for yourself. Like, how would you explain that?
Well, I'm in my healing era in the way that I'm not as I like to say people are really lucky that meet me right now and didn't meet me 5, 6 years ago. Like I feel like I came out of a very reactive era of, I think we're all wounded and they're very invisible, right? And then we go out into the world and someone pokes us the wrong way
Yeah. Yeah.
and something happens, but really we're just poking each other's wounds.
Yeah.
And, I think I use the grocery store analogy because it happens a lot. Somebody bumps you the wrong way at the grocery store and you're like, fuck, dude. And then I find myself like going into the car and going, okay, you probably reacted a little big to that. Like what? And then proceed to call myself a jerk or feel bad or have shame. And I think learning to reframe those minutes, I'm a person now where I'm trying to find childlike curiosity with myself, where I'm like, hey, that was big. Have you eaten? Do you need some water? Like, what's happening for you? And I think I am now leaning into this storytelling version of myself where I think for a long time I lived, especially in this project, in a lot of imposter syndrome of like, I don't deserve this. I am not a professional this. I am not a professional. I'm always the first. That's the first thing I told you here today was that I wasn't a professional. But I am somebody who believes that storytelling is incredibly vital for
Yeah.
our survival. And so I am now a storyteller in my healed era. I'm trying to come out of reactionary because I was reacting to so many wounds in public and when people would talk to me, and I had to take a step back and really sit with what those were. And I think all of us could use that for sure. And I I'm an author, which is an interesting one to write and say still. I'm trying to sit with that. Um, but storyteller and author and mother. But mother too, and you know this, as you get older and your kids become adults, that relationship, I'm toying with that being my next book is about grief, parental grief,
Yeah.
because nobody really prepares us for what happens when your kid, you go from ride or die to all of a sudden you have the you're leaving me, and nobody really we're not prepared for that grief of like, what do you mean you're just you don't need me? Like what? And if you're socialized a woman at all or have a uterus, you're taught that you are a better parent and a better person if you are selfless. And if you don't do anything for yourself and you put everybody else first. And so what does that leave us with in the second half of our life? Not much for ourselves
Yeah.
that we've built for ourselves. And so I've been trying to think about how to tackle that literary wise, because it was a grief uh curve that I went through that was I was not expecting it,
Yeah.
and it was really hard. And so I love being a mother of a 28-year-old now who is so intentional with
Mm.
her time with me. And but it's weird, it's interesting because you grow up and you if you have toxic parents like we
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to you go through the thing of like, I don't owe them anything. They were horrible. They were rude. Like I don't, and then you have this loving relationship where you're like, oh, they also don't owe me anything. Like I have to just sit back and let this relationship evolve as an adult space. And that was something that I had to learn as I went. It was hard. So yeah, I'm a mom, and I hope to be a published author again. I hope to write again, but I'm just trying to sit in this book for a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Releasing a releasing self a published indie book in late stage capitalism is a bitch. It's a lot. It's really hard to get seen. The little bookstores don't have it on the shelves yet because they just want to see it become more popular. You know, people can go in and order it, which they have, but just keeping it on the shelf is not. I'm waiting for people to be like, keep this. So we're trying to get the word spreading a little bit. But yeah, and I'm still a photographer. It's interesting though, I'm such a niche photographer. I call myself a photographer to people, but then they're like, oh hey, I need somebody to do portraits for my work, and I'm like, actually I don't do that. Like I will turn down every photography offer I have because I really feel like the only photography I want to take is in this space,
Yeah.
is my art project. It's all I have space for, quite honestly. And it's what I love. I'm not trying to be a commercial photographer and get paid for it. I've never been paid a cent for my photography, and I never want to be.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Put that in concrete somewhere.
Yeah. Well, the project's amazing and it's life-changing. I think
Thank you. And it feels like it's
for
evolving now too.
yeah, I mean and I bet many people would say this, but for me it was like being on that side of the camera and I'm not a photographer, but I take, photos. I enjoy doing that. But being on that side and have that interaction with you is phenomenal.
It's evolving, and I do it in my apartment now and do a little pop-up. But I'm hoping to manifest a space for myself, because as the project grows, it's not as safe to bring people into my
Sure.
apartment every time. And I do a lot of communication first before I do that now, just to feel safe. But manifest a little studio space or something for myself that I can have a bunch of plants in and have people feel safe. I think it's about curating the safety for people, the vibe. but yeah, the project is ever growing, and that's a huge part of who I am still. I feel the and even like the book doing book tours and book readings and speaking engagements. I had my first big speaking engagement of the year last week for IKEA internal, and it was so cool. It just internal like annual meeting, and
Wow.
so people for it was virtual, so like Sweden, people from all over were there, and afterwards, and then after the book thing, my partner was like, "This is like your personality changes. Like you are so much happier when you do this work." So I think I know what I want to be doing and need to be doing. It's just navigating the world right now to be able to do that. You know, I've never had a publisher. I've never had a big manager. I've never had money behind me. I've never had any of that. So you're the curve is going to be different. Like the journey is going to be different. And I'm really proud to say I've always done it myself by myself. And so, um, not having the help from people makes it easier to claim it for my own and
Yeah,
not be an imposter syndrome person is I've done it. And even if it doesn't go any farther than this, I think I've was able to touch enough people and communicate with enough people that hopefully made an impact, you know?
absolutely. Was there any closing parting words you want to share with anyone, with the group?
No, this is the Bloom book. You can find it anywhere you buy books. Like honestly, it's online with all the corporations, of course, which I don't promote, but I also don't not promote it because it's good for me to buy from the large corporations too.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah, and if you have a group that wants to talk about it, we're doing a book. It's going to be part of a book club in July, online book club. So some people are going to read it that way. And yeah,
that's
thank
awesome.
you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about it. I appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing with me. And I'll reach out to you. Some things in the South End I think that would be awesome if they fit with your schedule and your ability.
Yeah, definitely. And I was trying to reach out to literary people, and someone was like, you should do like mental health events. Like it doesn't have to be a book event. So I was like, duh, okay. So I'm gonna do more mental health events where I can table for Faces of Fortitude and the book and just do it together. Um, so yeah, look out for me there or any ideas for those. I'm always open. I'm excited to dive into those a little bit.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being with me today.